Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another Journey on the Fly, the podcast. Tonight, I am excited once again, and I know I say that all the time, but I generally am excited to talk to different people, different backgrounds, their life and fly fishing, and how there's that intersection and that almost symbiotic relationship that fly fishing and the rest of their life sometimes seems to happen, some on different levels than others. And tonight, at a very high level, do they intersect with my guest tonight, which is Mr. Ken Myers, who is the chief inventor of the high and dry fishing products. And I'm excited not just to talk about some of the tech stuff in the world of fly fishing floatants and um, chemistry and things like that, because the chemistry stuff sounds great coming from the chemist and from the chemical engineers, but it doesn't always compute. I guess as they articulate it correct, it does compute to me, and I enjoy hearing it. I am a guy who takes that and has a practical application response to things like that, but I have to have the technical details and the why side in order to be able to do that. And it gives me a greater appreciation for the products, for the services, for whatever's going on. Like the tailwater last week, and what you'll hear, 2 weeks ago, and then what you'll hear about trout going on trees that's coming out here real soon. So, nevertheless, you can find us, Journey on the Fly, where all podcasts can be found and more. And I can't name all the places. There's like 15, 20 places. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, iHeart, all those crazy places. And again, I'm just asking you all to share this with your friends and family. Help us promote this podcast. I don't make any money at this. I may monetize in the future just to maybe help pay for, I don't know, electricity, or maybe to help me sometimes justify the days I come home and I just don't want to interview anybody. I want to go fishing, or I want to do yard work, or I want to hang out with my family. Not to put those all on the same level, by the way, but sometimes the yard work is a necessity, not something I want to do. But not sit inside in front of a monitor and speak into a microphone. And that is nothing to degrade and or look down or speak negatively about my conversations. Those are really important. But just some days, I don't always have the drive that I do. But we're all like that. And the good part about all that is that as our character grows, hopefully, we push through that. We say, okay, whatever. We just keep going, right? So anyways, let's get at this. Let's talk to Ken. And thank you guys for listening once again. And thank you for inquiring, the two of you that did, on where in the world our podcast has been. And we're back on the ball. We're going to miss a week or so here and there. It's going to happen, especially in busy season, because we are a full-service guide for Western Pennsylvania and Central Pennsylvania and Erie's tributaries. And got a surprise that I just picked up that we're working on to add to our guiding arsenal. And we're working with some other guides that we're going to chat with here in a few weeks, hopefully. And yeah, good stuff. So let's get at it, right? So Ken, give us a little bit of insight in, who is Ken? Why are you involved with this company called High and Dry? What is all that? Kind of explain that to us, if you will.
Yeah, high and dry came about, many years ago. We're looking at probably 2013. So at the time, I worked for a company that made toner for copiers, and I was a chemist, and would take trips with one of our suppliers. He was an avid fly fisher. Went out to Montana and met up with some other folks that were in the same industry as making toner from different toner plants. And, we fished a lot of the waters out in Montana. And we're dry fly fishing, and we're using some floatants that were very solvent laden, let's just say, and odorous. We're all looking at one another like, okay, this is the best that this this fly fishing industry has to offer as far as floatants. And one of my good friends at the time was Vincent Ting. He was a PhD chemist who worked for Lexmark, and another good friend of mine was Dennis, who worked as a CEO for Toshiba. So we're all toner companies, and we started looking at one another and saying, maybe we can do something better here. I'm a chemist, graduated from St. Vincent College in Latrobe, and uh, Vince was a PhD chemist, had over 100 patents to his name. So we started the process, which later, turned into high and dry. So we canvassed all the floatants that were available at the time, and we, being chemists, were curious how they were made and how they worked, and so we did all that, analyzed the different properties, and found out the liquid products that were out there were mostly solvent, and there was a need for an improvement. So we started the process, and eventually started developing the products that you see today. First was the liquid, and then the gel. And at that point, we did a lot of field testing with the guide community, and learned that we had a product that worked well, and they wanted. So in 2015, we started the company. We created high and dry fishing products. So that's the backstory and how we came to be with the company.
So, answer me this: how obviously keep all the proprietary information. You're good at that. I probably shouldn't have to say that from here on out. It's not what I'm prying at. But how did you go about discovering that some of these other products out there, maybe many of them, or if not all of them, were solvent based? Were you able to simply, in a sense, reverse engineer them, or just because this side of it, as much as numbers and things are not me, like I just don't do numbers well, the details and the why and the how fascinates me, and it makes me appreciate the products and things, which is why I'm excited to push the products in one of my day jobs at the one fly shop that I work at. So how did you figure out that these things are, well, I mean, you actually showed me a
Well,
video.
they're toxic. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yes.
toxic. And they're not all like that. So I should say that during the course of this whole thing, we did a really thorough check of what was out there and what was available. And our immediate concern was the liquid, what we call the dip floatants. And we knew that they were, being a chemist, and I knew that they were basically solvent in their chemistry. So you know have access to a lot of different instrumentation, and we were able to run the chemical analysis tests on these products and pinpoint exactly what they were made from. And they were, in fact, made from solvent, different kinds of solvents. Some were, what we call naphtha, white gas, mostly uh, that, and some were uh, heptane, and some are even a little bit more strange as far as the chemistry goes. Some of the current products that are out there now, and mostly mixed with fumed silica or maybe paraffin wax. So those things aren't so bad. It's a solvent. So most were high concentrations, 75%, clear up to 95%. So we were able to do all of our chemistry tricks to kind of reverse engineer what these things were made from. And some of the instrumentation we used was FTIRs, basically is the chemical fingerprint of the material, and we can match that up to a library of different chemicals and pinpoint exactly what was used. So we knew exactly what was going on with the chemistry. We knew that it was, shouldn't be something you would want to put in the water or let evaporate out to the air or put on your fingers even, because it could absorb through your skin. So we were like, okay, we got to make something that is safe, um, for the water, for the environment, but also had to work better. And that work better part was really really what drove the development. That we had to come up with some tests and figure out how good is a floatant. We came up with what we call a soak test, and it's a simple test just to see how effective a floatant is at keeping water out of the fly. So we had to come up with a lot of things. But during the course of this, we checked dozens of different floatants for their chemistries and whether or not they were toxic, and um, also how well they performed as a water barrier. So we checked all these things, and then we started our own process of developing the products. And as I said, we made the first attempt at the liquid, because we thought, well, the liquid family that was being sold was really the most harmful, I thought. So we started there, and then moved on to the gel family, which a lot of the gels that are out there aren't harmful, but they are hydrocarbon based, and they can leave oily residue rings and such, but not necessarily toxic. But and then we moved on to the powder products, and worked on those.
Now, I will edit this out if this is saying too much, but you had showed me a video of one of the, we'll just call it a leading competitor out there, of one of the dips where
Hmm.
you put it in a petri dish of sorts on your deck and you lit it on fire and it burned for like a minute or something like that with a flame that was 3, 4 inches tall, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me because I think, like, I'm not a chemical guy if I can avoid it. For instance, I have kept ticks off of me for years because I use permethrin. I dose it down with water to the known appropriate amount, parts per, and I'll spray it on my clothes, and I will basically never find a live tick on me. I know there's probably some kind of relationship there that if I did it every day of my life, it's going to do something bad to me. But I also know that I can't wet wade that way because that permethrin is just terrible for fisheries. So,
Hmm.
which leads me to kind of a theme that has been running like a thread through all my podcasts so far is you developed, and I know you developed something that your primary focus was, we want to develop something that is better. And I believe you've done it. Actually, the test you could do, all of us can do in our own house if we have a couple of the floatants and go at it. But the other side of that intrigues me, which is you guys developed something that is environmentally safe. Why was that important to you guys?
Yeah, I think you know it wasn't for the liquid dip back in 2013 when we were fishing the Missouri River. The odor. I mean, this just lingered on our hands, and you have two chemists fishing, side by side, and we're looking at one another, and we're like, okay, this is a cutesy marketing label on the product, and so, but we knew it was solvent based, and we just kind of started talking about it. We're like, this can't be good for us because could smell it on our hands and our and waders and such, everything, after the day was done, and you could smell it on the flies. You'd open up your fly kit and it would smell like kerosene. And we're just like, this can't be. We have to do something better. So when you start getting into it, you realize how unregulated the whole thing is, and anybody could put something in a bottle and say, hey, it's use it for fly fishing, and we thought, well, that wasn't right either. So the environmentally friendly part was a necessity. It's one of the I guess what you call it, the rules we had.
Okay.
So going up front with this, we created some guidelines, some rules, And one of the rules was we had to have fun doing this. So it was just let's have fun. The second rule, um, it had to be best performing. And the third rule was it had to be environmentally friendly. And so if we couldn't fulfill those three, the fun part was easy. Uh, we enjoyed doing it, and and as more and more we got into it, we realized how much we didn't know about floatants, and we were learning a lot about the whole thing. But the environmental friendly part of it was really, it was set right up front. We said, well, if we're going to do this, we can't just do a Me Too product that is what we call that solvent base is called. It's called VOCs. It's volatile organic compounds. It's compounds that evaporate off. Paint thinner would be something like that. So we said, well, we can't have that kind of material, and it was a challenge. I mean, to do these kind of things was not easy. It took us 2 years. We're pretty good development chemists to come up with the formula, and then we had to vet it. So it was always up front. It was always the very first thing that we had agreed upon when we went after this. So it was the environmentally friendly part.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know a ton of other people that it matters because I just um, participated in my first Trout Unlimited banquet, and as ignorant as I am, unfortunately, of Trout Unlimited and all the crazy work that they have done over the years, their mission statement about conserving, um, cold water fisheries and passing that on to the next generation is very much near and dear to my heart and soul, to everything that I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to orchestrate, my life in general, let alone my fly fishing. This is important. Why put more junk in there if we don't have to? I think of like some of those volatile chemicals in a fly, and then the fish takes it and probably ingests a
Yeah.
bit of it in the process of that. As soon as you were describing it, it's exactly what I kind of envisioned, um, and making a difference in that way, I don't think is a small thing, and I just want to applaud you guys for accomplishing what you have.
Yeah, and the comment you mentioned about the little bench test I did with the flammability. It's just a very visible, in your face test that shows that how poisonous and toxic they are. And when something catches on fire like that, it's an accelerant, and it's all solvent based, and it's just kind of silly to have a product like that that could potentially somebody could ingest it, or drop it in the water, or whatever. It's not necessary. So that was a video that was it was kind of surprised me too, how how combustible the stuff was. So anyway, don't try that at home. But there's some things out there that that will burn because they're just basically volatile organic compounds.
Now, how many different products do you have now that you can speak about to us?
Yeah, we have our lineup currently is 5 products, and that's one of the things we learned too. You know, what do you really need? When it comes to floatants, how many different kinds of floatants do you really need? Uh, I mean, there's all kind of categories, but we did some research on the different categories. But our lineup of 5 right now for the waterproofing of flies, or the liquid, and we call it our gel. We have a powder with brush, which you can apply to certain areas with the brush. We have a powdered floatant with desiccant, which helps dry the fly, then adds a little bit of floatant. And we have a liquid spray, which kind of came last. And I was actually not going to develop that product. So I thought, why do we need a spray version of our liquid? And it just kind of came about because the shops wanted it, the guide community wanted it. They loved our liquid dip, but when you dip some large bugs in there, it kind of sucks up too much of the liquid. So they wanted to kind of put the liquid on, just mist it on, not so much saturated. So guys out west were fishing. Large hopper patterns and chubby Chernobyls and things like that. They said, "Hey Ken, I dump a couple bugs in your liquid and it's all gone, because it sucks it all up." So they wanted a spray, so we did some work on it and we came up with the spray. So that it's kind of an offshoot to the liquid, and so those are the five. The couple we're working on and actually in field tests with are more of a line treatment, and we um, have a number of samples out, which you guys have some as well. That it's a paste floatant for the nylon leaders and tippets. We found that we work really hard to keep the flies floating, and the fly lines are really great these days. They float really well, but the part in the middle doesn't. It tends to sink. Nylon has an affinity for water. It'll float initially, but then kind of sink under the water. It does absorb a little bit of water, and makes it harder to keep the fly floating. And you try to mend, and the line's kind of going under the water. It makes it harder to mend. So we come out with a paste. It took me a while to work on this because it's a little harder to get the nylon to float versus a fly because it doesn't have any really natural buoyancy. So you got to add it to it. So we have a paste product that does that, and also you can use it on indicators, and you can use it above the indicator if you're nymph fishing. It helps mend. But anyway, it's a cool product. I think it's going to help a lot of people in keeping that part of the line on top of the surface makes it easier to cast. And then the other product we just developed, because we've been asked about it, is a fly line dressing, which helps slick up the fly line. It doesn't necessarily need a buoyancy component because the fly line already floats. Just something to add a little slickness to the fly line. It makes it easier to cast and strip and things like that. So those two products are in launch phase, so to speak, and work. In fact, I'm going to retrieve a piece of equipment we just purchased next week to fill the paste product. And so we're moving forward with those two. And the one that's on the drawing board right now is keep being asked by a lot of the fly tires if they can pre-treat. I've been asked that question so many times. Is it okay to pre-treat using our products? Well, our products were developed primarily to be used at the water. That was kind of our, thing is like we want these products to be used right at the water when you want to use them. But there's a lot of people that tie their own flies and they want to do some treatment, waterproofing right as they tie them. And our products, they're using them for that application. And some people really like some like the liquid and to do that, but it wasn't necessarily developed with that in mind. So I'm working on a product that probably a little bit more focused on the home uh, fly tire, and they're wanting to waterproof the fly at home. So working on that. That's just still in the development phase right now. And last but not least, we have some work we're being done on permanently treated leaders that will help float, which um, we're checking that out right now. It's another thing, but we're not um, probably not going to launch anything there this year. That might stretch into next year. So that's really where we're at right now. It keeps me busy and a lot of opportunities to do good things. So and we're just really careful in how we do things. We're making sure we test and test and test and vet the product and um, make sure it works really well before we launch. So that keeps me busy, and but it's a lot of fun too. Have a great time doing it.
Well, so I'm excited about all this, and I want to throw this out there because maybe nobody's ever done this, and it would be great if I had an actual realistic idea that nobody had yet. So sometimes when I'm nymph fishing, you will know that those fish are taking the fly on the drop because as soon as it hits the water, they're taking it. And I fish a system that is pretty versatile, and sometimes I'll put nymphs on that drop really fast. And one of the things that I've been experimenting with, and I haven't done it with the the new paste product yet because I don't have my own bottle of it, but eventually when it's out, I'll make sure I get it. Is I pre-treat some of um, those dubbed bodies with it. In theory, and I haven't had a fish tank with zero fish in it yet to actually try it and like visually see it and actually time it. But I throw that on there with the hopes that when it hits the water, it slows the sink rate, which is funny because a lot of times I need to increase the sink rate of a fly to get to the zone in fast water. But I've been trying that when you key in on that because sometimes that's the difference. The fish is up in the column, and so that's one of the ways that I have been kind of messing with the products myself. So there's a lot of cool things that I think if you're an investigative mind and like to do those little experiments that people can do with your products. Hence the creation of your spray. I mean, I use that probably more than I do the little squirt bottle now because I just like how it applies it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it amazes me talking to the community out there. I try to get out and visit the shops, and we've been at some of the fly fishing shows, and it amazes me what uses they find for the products, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like the guys out west wanted to spray it on. I'm like, I thought, well, maybe spraying isn't the best way of applying it, but who am I to say? They thought it was great, and it turns out they were right. You can spray it on right where you want it, and as little or as much as you like. And turns out it had an offshoot where guys fishing really delicate CDC patterns. Even though our products were developed with that in mind, you could use our liquid dip on a CDC, and it will do a pretty good job and not mat it. Gel, it's thin, so does a pretty good job. But the spray is just really cool because you can just spritz it on there a little bit, and it on the delicate fly, it doesn't do any matting whatsoever, and it keeps it floating nice. So I didn't really even realize that it was more geared towards these guys with big bugs, big hopper patterns and things like that. But turns out they're using it like crazy on South Holston, with these really delicate CDC patterns, and you guys keep finding more and more uses for it. The paste is going to be cool. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of a good multi-purpose product. I mean, it's meant for leaders, but I think you're going to find it works on, like you said, some nymphs or even a indicator or whatever. There's a lot of you can even use it in a pinch on a dry fly too. It's probably not going to be great for CDC, but just in general, you can use it for a lot of different things, and it's very ultra buoyant. So that's one of the really cool things about the paste. It's going to have a lot of buoyancy. So I like to talk about that a lot. It's one thing you got to. I look at it twofold. One is the waterproofing ability, keeping the water out, and the second is adding buoyancy. So I talk about this a lot. All flies, for the most part, dry flies have some natural buoyancy. They're made with hair and other synthetic things that kind of they'll float on their own for a short period of time. Waterproofing it maintains that. In some cases, we like to add buoyancy, which help pop it back up to the surface whenever it does go under the water. And so I look at it two different ways: how well does it keep the water out, and also how fast, if you were to hold a beach ball underwater and let go of it, how quickly does it pop back up? So that kind of thing is buoyancy. So the paste is going to have really good waterproofing, but it also is going to have really good buoyancy. So we'll see how it gets used and the different things you guys can do with it. Should be pretty cool.
Well, that's a good segue into kind of the other dimension of this podcast and really fly fishing. So you started this with a group of friends that had not just, scientifically like-mindedness, but fly fishing like-mindedness. And you said the first rule was to be fun. So this is your job, but this is more than your job, right? This is pretty interwoven as your life, as if I used to say years ago about something I used to do, that you kind of live, eat, and breathe this stuff. So it's not just you eating and living and breathing this. You have family and a lot of people involved in this. Am I right?
Yeah, I do. It's really become um, a family business. I mean, I have business partners that are scattered across the United States, and they're all they're all their families are also involved. My one of my business partners, you know, they live in Mitchell, South Dakota. uh, it, the father and his two sons are involved, so they're good friends of mine. So it's definitely a family operation there too. I mean, he brought his sons into the business, and they're actually partners. And for me, in Pennsylvania, uh, it really brought me and my father and my mother and my sisters together. Um, it's just something that we celebrated all the achievements. Our first sell internationally. We're one by one in all the shops, and it was a lot of fun watching it grow year after year. But we would get together. It takes a little bit of work to put the stuff in bottles and put caps on it and labels and pack it. If I didn't have the help of my family and my friends and my business partners, I mean, we wouldn't see high and dry. It takes a big effort. But one of the cool things that it did was allowed my father and I to really build a close bond. He's a great guy. He very hard worker all of his life, and when he retired, him and I started working on high and dry, and uh, we traveled all over the place, um, going door to door to every fly shop. We did tours, we call them the fly shop tours, and I would plot out, okay, where the fly shops were, and as you guys know, we sell, directly to the fly shops. We don't sell on our website. We rely on the fly shops to do it because they're a great asset to our industry. So we you know we put our on our sell shoes, and we go out and we visited all the fly shops, and then I would find where all these fly shops are. So Dad and I would we put thousands of miles on a year just traveling from one place to the next. We'd go down the Shenandoah Valley. We'd go down through the Smoky Mountains, we'd Appalachia, up through New England, all through Pennsylvania. Um, Everybody knows my dad. I think they've seen. He's my best salesman. Trust me. And him and I have just been like just the traveling high and dry sales guys. Um, and we just had so much fun doing it. Just seeing so many different parts of the country. We go out to we traveled out west and fished a lot of the waters out there. Went to Yellowstone National Park together. It's just a lot of good memories. And he's still at it. He's 82 years old, and we're heading up to Wisconsin next week to see some people, and it's just a lot of fun with him. And my sister's now getting really involved in it. She loves it. My girlfriend is involved in it. They help me out at the shows. My sister, I took her to the Denver Fly Show recently in February, and her and I, had a lot of fun out there. And she's, the thing about this industry is everybody is just so cool. I love the people in it. I can't say enough good words about that. All the shops, even though in the days where they didn't know me or High and Dry uh, at all, they never heard of us. They gave me the time. The fly shop managers and the guide community, fantastic people. Gave me the time to explain what we were all about, and because of that, and their willingness to, you know, look at something new and understand it better. I mean, that's what really drove High and Dry. So yeah, the family aspect, I love it. Um, we're there every Saturday together as a family doing things with High and Dry, filling bottles, and my dad helps package stuff. My sister does. I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and it's brought the whole family together.
That means an awful lot to me. I think I'm not a history buff, but there are things that I know about history where our nation, really the world, went under massive changes, and one of those that people overlook is the Industrial Revolution. Because prior to it, the everything you just described was predominantly how the world worked. I mean, the shoe cobbler, their family fixed shoes and lived upstairs or in the back. The Chinese Americans that we have today are a good example of that. A lot of the people that own those restaurants, you'll go into most Chinese restaurants and you'll see, their kids are there doing schoolwork or something. They're all part of this beautiful relationship of everybody's learning each other's work ethic, and they're, as you said, the relationships are growing and deepening. And it's, man, we I applaud you for that, because it's practically an art nowadays when you hear of anything like that going on. And the fact that you're also successful doing this is a wonderful thing as well. But having everybody involved and passionate and excited in some way and getting their hands dirty as a family is tremendous. And I know that that's company wide. I know that that's not just you and your family; it's the other partners and the other thinkers that are involved in this. And man,
Yeah.
those are the things I hear when you tell stories. When I hear stories like that, and your story in particular. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that don't have good relationships with their family, and man, this is an opportunity for tensions to be there, and I'm sure there has been occasionally. I mean, I know my best friend. I spend enough time with him. I want to hit him, but um, there's there I know the feeling's mutual too. You get on each other's nerves sometimes, but man, when you work at that and you're actually doing something that's significant in each other's lives, that you get over that. Your character grows, and your patience grows as well. So that's awesome. So
It's been cool in that regard. It's really, and it's ongoing. In fact, it's getting bigger and bigger. We just have a lot of fun with it, and it's nice to pal around and go do different things together with the company, and they get excited about it. It's just we keep it fun. There's a business end to it too, which I absorb a lot of that, So there's, you got to, do things that are the business essentials, but the fun part, we try to, you know, keep it fun, and that's really the bottom line.
So I know there's all this family involvement that you just said and we just talked about. What about this? And I know you mentioned a little bit. You get to when you travel, you do poke a line in the water here and there. But I mean, are you out fishing? Are you your residence is in Pennsylvania, right? You're in the Laurel Highlands.
Yeah,
Okay. Because at one time I thought you said you moved to Denver or something, but I got wires crossed on that. Um,
yeah. One of my business partners moved uh, from Rapid City, South Dakota, to Colorado Springs, and so yeah. But no, I've been in Western Pennsylvania pretty much my whole life, except for a few years down in Dallas, Texas. I moved my you know down there for a job at Texas Instruments. I worked, but then I moved back. So I've been in this area. I grew up in the country, Derry, Pennsylvania, and my dad. We fished together. As far back as I can remember, we you know fish up in Canada and things. So fishing was always part of my life. But nowadays, I enjoy fishing. I'm pretty busy, so I don't get out as much as I like. But I always say that from traveling to all the fly shops all over the place. We're I think now in roughly 300 or more fly shops. I've been to a lot of them. I've been taking notes on the waters. So there's a there's a it's my laundry list of places to go fishing whenever I have a chance to get out. So I'm keeping notes. But as far as fishing, I like to get out. You know, and there's just a lot of places I'd like to go that I haven't gone yet. So
do you have, if you're willing to divulge, do you have a favorite stream there around home somewhere?
my go-to because it's close by is the Little Hannah.
Okay.
I like actually fishing in the summertime for some smallmouth bass there. Just tossing some terrestrials or some hoppers or whatever, and I like doing that. And there's nobody on the creek at that time, so I enjoy doing that. I take my daughter there, and uh, we have a little bit of fun, and it's and when you get into the early season like now, it's to me it's not as much fun, but like later on, maybe in May or June or something like that, or even later, we'll get out there and try to pick up some trout. But it's just the convenience I get. It's not far from my house. I can drop a line in there real fast, and I do a lot of my testing on that, and on that on the Lohan. I'll do some a lot of tests and things I got to do, checks, and I'll just run down to the creek and try it out. But yeah, as far as it goes, I would like to fish more um, the Yakagani, and it's not too far, but uh, around here it's not as great as maybe more in central PA, but I find places to fish, and like still working on trying to find different waters to fish around here. So, but yeah, I wish I had more time. It's just the thing. I tend to go out west a couple times a year and fish. Fished all around the Black Hills, which was pretty cool, and of course Montana. Fished a lot out there. So, but
And
yeah,
is
here this time of year, I'm usually pretty busy making floating, so I have to buckle down as much as I want to go out. I'm like, the business has grown so much over the past few years. It's we're working on ways to improve efficiencies and do things faster, so I have more time to go out fishing.
Goals, right?
Get better equipment and more faster filling machines and things like that. So I can do a lot more product in less time. So I can step out and go have some fun.
Well, with that said, do you have a story, a fishing story that may stick out in your mind from your past or anything like that you'd be willing to share? And it's okay if you don't, because sometimes they all blur together. They're so good.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. I mentioned about getting involved in fly fishing way back. I was never a fly fisher, growing up. Um, Luckily, I had a supplier. I was telling you about the toner business. A supplier to the toner business of resin that we use in the toner. He was an avid fly fisherman. He's the one that got me started in fly fishing. So funny story. He'd come, to the office. He says, "Hey Cam," he says, "we got to go fly fishing." I'm like, "Ted, I don't know anything about fly fishing." He's like, "Don't worry about it." He says, I'll teach you." He says, "We get together with other guys in the industry, and I take you all out to Montana, and we go fly fishing, and we go into drift boats." And I'm like, "What's a drift boat?" And I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. So he says, "Okay, well, I'm going to take you." He says, "You go out by yourself, a fly rod and reel." And I didn't know anything about it. So I went to a local hardware store and got one. It actually turned out it wasn't too bad. It was a decent setup. Um, he takes me to a place called Big Moors, and I don't think it's open anymore. But this was probably 25 years ago, maybe more, 30 years ago. Um, Big Moors, I think it was in Coldersport, Pennsylvania, and they had, it's a small stream that this fella had a, kind of a fishing camp there, and so we go, and it was a neat little place, and a pond, and I kind of casted my first fly into this pond, and I caught a trout, and so that night it rained like crazy, and I thought there's no way that these creeks are going to be fishable, but they were. So we went out, and they had a lot of these sections of stream stocked with fish. It was, it's a private place. They had them stocked. I'm like, I don't care. That's fine with me. Stocked, not stocked. I didn't care. I just wanted to catch something. So walk out, and they send me up to this piece of water, which is probably about 10 feet, not even across. I tied on a black woolly bugger and casted it out. And I couldn't really see through the water all the because it was cloudy because of the rain. And I latch onto this fish, and the guide said, "Okay, I'll be with you in about 20 minutes." I'm like, "What do you mean 20 minutes?" This fish, I my very first so-called fish in a stream on a fly, turned out to be a 31-inch rainbow trout.
Oh my!
And I got a picture of it. Someday I'll show it to you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was in the middle of a pouring down torrential rainstorm, and I had this stupid plastic thing on to keep the water off me, and I had one of those. If you remember those old Kodak box cameras, uh, that before digital cameras even were. I had one of these cameras in my pocket, and I was able to snap a shot with this fish before we put it back in. And I still have that picture to this day, and that's what got me hooked on fly fishing. It was this Big Moors fishing place, and the next year we fished the rest of the way down, and we caught more and more trout and had a great time. Uh, Even dry fly fished a little bit that day, but the following year they take me um, to the Delaware River system, the east and west branches of the Delaware, so I could practice fishing from a drift boat. And so that funny story was the very first day I'm on a drift boat. It was windy and I could not cast. I was not very good at casting, and I could not. There was fish rising everywhere. It was a great, beautiful day, and I could not cast 2 feet in front of my nose, and missed so many opportunities to catch some fish that day. But the guide rode my butt. You know, it's like, just, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm like, and he kept at it, and I got a little hot, and he got a little hot, and it was good because I take a challenge really well, and did do so well that day. But the next day, the wind died down, and I was able to cast, and we had a great day, and that kind of cinched it for me. I'm like, the following year went out to Montana, and that's where I met up that next year with all my future business partners that were in High and Dry. The original three, Vince and Dennis and myself. That's the year that we all met, and the rest is history, so they say. And so those are my good memories of how I got involved in fly fishing, and it was all because of Ted Grisnolik and his willingness to kind of take me by the hand and show me the ropes and get me hooked on it. And how much it's spread since then. My daughter does it. My family does it. My dad's fly fishes. A lot of friends of mine, I've introduced them to it. So it just spreads. And it's how it goes. You know how that you teach one person, they'll teach a couple others. So
Yeah, man, thanks for sharing that. I love it because first of all, like the stock trout thing, they get beat on the head so badly for being a stock trout. But first of all, I don't think people really understand how quickly they acclimate as a trout. But
hmm
the fact that that stock trout, now granted the 31 inches, I think had an awful lot to do with it,
hmm
but stocked or not, that's where it started for you. And man, people need to hear that, need to realize, like, don't knock those stock trout. If you anything, give them a week and now go try to catch them. They're going to be a lot harder than what you think
yeah.
they are.
Don't be a trout snob.
Yeah.
It got me hooked on it, and without that stock, granted it was a big one, but it could have been a small one too. It could have been a 12-inch fish, or even a 5-inch fish. I probably would have been hooked, and without that, there'd have been no High and Dry. And so don't knock it. It's fun. It's fun whether you catch a fish that's been in there all of its life, or it was just stalked. It's fun catching a fish. So
Absolutely. Well, Ken, man, let everybody know how do we go check out your products? And I know you said like 300 or more, or up to 300 stores. That's crazy. So, how can we find your products, check them out, and all that stuff? Let some people know that.
yeah, really simple. I mean, you go to our website, www. ironDryFishingProducts.com, and you'll find a dealer locator on there. And wherever you're at, you can see where the shops are that sell. We sell through the shops. We appreciate everything the shops do. And you guys do a tremendous job. We appreciate that. Give thanks to all the shops out there. So we put those on our website. Would like everybody out there to support the fly shops, and they're a great resource. The guides, fantastic. There's so many great guides that work really hard, um, and they're very good at what they do. So reach out to them too. So if you need to grab some of our product, there'll be a fly shop near you somewhere, and most, if not all of them anymore, I think will sell online. I'm not sure if your shop has an online e-shop, but a lot of them do, and you can go on there and purchase floatant. So there's a lot of ways to get it, and if anybody out there has a hard time finding High and Dry, just shoot me an email through our website, and we usually respond within a day and get you some answers, and we'll get you hooked up one way or the other. But go through the shops. A lot of them sell online, and probably find it on that Amazon also somewhere. Somebody will have it on there. But we are probably, like I said, 300 or more fly shops right now. We're also in many different countries internationally. I just shipped an order to Japan today. We're in Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, all of Europe. Have a great distributor in Europe and Canada. Pretty much everywhere there's fly fishing, so you'll find high and dry somewhere. If you just can't, please give me a holler, and I'll hook you up. So we'll figure it out.
All right, Ken. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing on a product like this, because I think, every one of them. My favorite is actually the fact that I can dry a fly and put floating on it in a couple shakes. That's probably my favorite. Is the combo of the desiccant and
the powder with the desiccant. Yeah.
Yep, it's just genius in my opinion. But thanks for sharing, man, and I won't take any more of your time up.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and the folks out there. And so, I said, if you have any, always interested in what everybody says out there, the end users. I love talking to them, and you ever have any comments, questions, feel free to go to our website and send an email. It'll get to me. Trust me, I get them every day, and I try to answer any questions anybody might have about floatants and our products. So just want to let you know that too. I do receive your emails.
All right, man. Well.
All right. Well, listen. Take care, and thank you for everything and all the hard work you do.
You're welcome, and thank you, man. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it again, my friends. Man, Ken Myers, not just Ken Myers, by the way, all of the High and Dry crew and family, which are pretty much family. And, man, I just love all these stories. You could sit and talk about a product, and that's great. But the fact that the product is developed in such a beautiful way, man, let's not look over that. Let's not look past the fact that it's environmentally conscious, that it's a derivative of people who care about the streams and the future of fly fishing. I mean, go get your hands on this. If you haven't used it, I'm going to say this real boldly. Ken did not ask me to say this, and Ken is not paying. High and Dry has no incentive necessarily for coming on with me. In the world of podcast and fly fishing, I'm a nobody, and I'm okay with that. But I'm going to say this to everybody that does listen. If you have any other products, recycle the bottle and go buy High and Dry. I'm telling you, this stuff it's the cat's meow. And for all you kiddos out there listening, that is another way of saying this stuff is awesome. The product development continues. I'm excited about the leaders. We didn't talk much about the leaders, but having a permanently treated leader is amazing. Like, I have 2 of them that he gave me, and I am just waiting to see. I literally am jonesing to see bugs popping off so I can throw a floating leader for those reasons. And maybe we'll talk about that in another time, leader selections or something like that. But thank you guys for your time. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And I'll leave all the links and stuff that we had discussed in the notes. And until the next time, keep your lines wet, your flies in the fish's mouth. God bless.